So that we can they'll come back, she's ready, and start to get to know her. Anybody else? Yeah. She's gonna be yeah, speaking of emergency certificate, and I kind of Ideally, it'd be great. But they didn't want to be bigger. Hold down.
Good evening, everybody. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome tonight. Tonight is the organizational meeting for the Board of Education. And since we start the meeting with no officers, my job as superintendent is to get the ball rolling to find a president. And so the way it works is that I will, in a second here, call for a nomination for the office of president. I'll record that. I will ask the person that is nominated or the people that are nominated if they accept the nomination. And then we will, according to how we've always done business, we will take and we will vote. And when we got a majority, I will pass the gavel to the new president. So whoever that may be. So let me open the floor for nominations for office of president from the Board of Education.
I nominate Megan Glaybach for president.
So Glenn nominates Megan. Megan, do you? We don't need a second because technically when I ask the nominee if they'll accept it, that's the second. So, but thank you. Megan, do you accept the nomination for president?
Yes.
Megan takes that. All right. Are there any other nominations for the office of president? No other nominations for office of president, so I will go down the traditional order and start with Mr. Gogolewski. Mr. Gogolewski, do you aye or nay for Megan?
Yay.
Yay it is. Ms. Shaw?
Yay.
Ms. Coleman?
Yay.
Ms. Glaybach? Yay. Mr. Keller?
Yay.
Ms. Blondino?
Yes.
And Mr. Costa?
Yep, so I will say that I planned on continuing in my position as president up until just recently. I had a conversation with Ms. Glaybach, and based on it's evident that the majority of the board supports her position as president. I too as well support that. So I'm also a yes from Mrs. Glaybach.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Ms. Glaybach, congratulations. You are now the president for the 23-24 school year. And I'm going to pass the gavel to you in case you need it. Let's complete that. You get to get these. You also get to basically do what I did for the next few offices. So I will shut up and it's yours.
Sorry, guys, it's the first time I'm seeing this.
Make it simple. You just ask for a nomination when we go to that.
Okay, we're gonna go
Vice President.
vice president. We'll wing this.
I nominate Kristen Coleman for vice president.
I second.
I nominate Michelle Mondial for vice president.
I second.
Kristen, do you accept the first nomination? Is there any other nominations for vice president?
I nominate Michelle Blondil for vice president.
Second.
Michelle, do you accept that nomination?
I do.
Any other nominations?
Take a vote in order of nominations.
Is there any discussion? Sorry to interrupt. Is there any discussion? Because I think we should have a little discussion.
Opening the floor for discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to just say that I'm nominating Michelle. Confident in her abilities, her ability to speak, her ability to research, her ability to communicate. I think she's done an excellent job. I think knowing the experience level that she has in her day job is quite impressive. And I think those skills would be a tremendous boost to the board.
I guess I'd also like to make a few comments if I could. So I think Michelle will be a tremendous asset as vice president. Anybody that's been around Michelle knows she's not shy about asking tough questions. Her and her husband Chad have been very involved in the community. She's very open about engaging with all constituents in the community, regardless of, you know, political affiliation or what the issue is. Again, Michelle's very open to those conversations. Her real world experience, she brings a lot of experience with global contracts, negotiating with large conglomerates. She leads project teams. And I guess the last cherry on the top for me is at this last election, she received the most votes of any candidate on the ballot. So I think, you know, that says a lot about the community and how they would like to have her presence up here on the board.
I'd like to say something about myself. So in my job, my day-to-day job, I do deal globally. So I deal with all kinds of people, India, Australia, China, Korea, Mexico. So I do have a wide range of customers that I do deal with. So I do have the ability to, you know, work with many, many different groups of people and different kinds of people in tough situations. So what I have to say.
Well, since I nominated Kristen, I could just personally speak to the fact that as my time as president, I couldn't find a better vice president, someone that I could rely on for an honest opinion of the direction I may want to go with some things. She's very forward with me in a way that I felt confident. So that for that reason is why I nominated Kristen.
Alrighty, we will start with the first nomination in support for vice president. I'm going to just go down the order. If you could just give me a yay or a nay. The first nomination is Kristen Coleman. Glenn, sorry.
Nay.
Cindy, yay. Kristen, yay. Chris,
Yes.
Greg,
Nay.
Michelle.
Nay.
All right, and I am a yay. So that's a 4-3. Kristen will be this year's vice president. I will now call for nominations for the role of treasurer.
I nominate Greg Keller.
Greg, do you accept that nomination?
I do.
Any other nominations?
I nominate Chris Costa.
Any other nominations? Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to.
I'm sorry.
I
Chris.
accept.
Oh,
I accept
you
nomination. Thanks.
Thanks for giving me grace today, guys.
I would just like to say that Greg is an exceptionally good detail-oriented person, perfect for the position of treasurer, very good at looking at numbers. Excellent experience in working with budgets, very large budgets, budgets larger than our school district. And I think he would be quite well qualified for the position.
I also like to add that Greg's core competencies are financial and his qualifications exceed what is needed for the role. And I think that his attention to detail and his dedication will bode well for the board. And I think he's the one for the job.
As I nominated Chris, I truly believe that Chris's years of service on the board, his dedication to the community and his dedication to the kids in our schools definitely bring a lot to any officer role on the board. And I think his contribution as treasurer would be very valuable.
Any further discussion? No. We will start with the first nomination, and that will be Greg Keller. Glenn,
Yay.
Cindy? No. Kristen?
No.
Chris?
No.
Greg?
Yes.
Michelle?
Absolutely.
And I am a no. Going to the second nomination for Chris Costa. Glenn?
No.
Cindy? Yes. Kristen?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Greg?
No.
Michelle?
No.
And I'm a yes. Chris, you are now the new treasurer. Moving on to nominations of secretary. Do I have any nominations for the office of secretary?
I nominate Cindy Shaw.
Cindy, do you accept that nomination?
Yes.
I nominate Greg Keller. I'm sorry, Glenn Gogolewski, looking at Greg, talking, Glenn, for secretary.
Glenn, do you accept that nomination?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Any discussion?
Regarding which one, either? Oh, so, Glenn has been the one that has, said the most about, anything that's in the meeting minutes, how, it's very important to hear what people are saying, document it, because it's important to him, to hear what the community has to say. I think he's proven that, he is somebody that wants to support the community and what they want, so I think he would be an excellent secretary, and, hope to see it happen. I think the current secretary needs some understanding of some things, and I think that Glenn is much more qualified.
Yeah, I'd also like to add too, I think, in past meetings, Glenn's been very vocal about, wanting to make sure all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed in some of our meeting notes. So I think he's very passionate about properly documenting, which I think complements the board well, along with his real world experience where he's consulting with other businesses and documenting policies and procedures and things like that. So I think that would be a tremendous asset for the board.
Any further discussion?
I can just add, again, based on my time on the board and getting to know Mrs. Shaw. I feel that she is exceptional in recognizing what's happening here and in the community, the time she put in at DPAC, in the schools. I think she's an asset to this board, and for that matter, I think she's deserving of secretary.
Great. Any further discussion? All right, our first vote today is for the first nomination of Cindy Shaw. I will go down the line for a yay or nay. Glenn?
Nay.
Cindy? Yes. Kristen?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Greg?
No.
Michelle?
No.
I am a yes. That concludes our nominations and appointment for new officers. I will wait until my board report to speak on any additional. Yeah, I'm good. I don't need to speak. I can sit on the floor. I think you guys can all hear me. But I will go through my plans because I do think we need to play to the strengths of all of those that are on our board. And we have some pretty incredible people up here. And so really giving everyone the opportunity to take on something huge and impactful within the district and building those relationships as such. So I'll talk more about that in my board report. But I will move on to the next agenda item, which is 1C, approval of the agenda.
I move that the agenda for the July 17th, 2023 organizational meeting be approved.
Support.
I motion to add to the agenda.
Give me a second.
What would you like to
What are
add?
you in?
Yeah. Moment. What I'd like to do is add as a discussion topic. The need for a special meeting for policy 8805. Regarding the clarification of that policy.
So we would move that to 2A and move all of 2 items to 3, correct?
I think. You can.
Or 3A, sorry.
Yeah.
3A of discussion items.
So 3A would become.
I second.
3B.
So we would add 3A discussion items. Policy 8805. Is the motion on the table?
Yes. Yeah. Take a vote on add that as a discussion.
Any discussion on this? I think there was some email traffic and I guess, is there still a level of confusion? Chuck, can you give us an idea of what? If your team still needs a special meeting?
I think the reality is I did get some information back from Mr. Gogolewski in regards to some concerns I had with the policy. And at the end of the day, if the board is entrusting me to try to manage and police that policy, then if the board is okay with the information that I'm getting from the board, now that's simply from one board member, and I have some information. It's just, you're gonna have to trust the superintendent to try to police that policy to the best of his ability, my ability. And if I'm telling you that I'm a little concerned about the ability to manage that particular policy and explain it to our staff, certainly it seems like this is what it is, and make your best decisions, as I always do with policy, and I will do that. And if we come to a situation where I need some help with that, then maybe, in my opinion, that's when we'd have to have some conversation about it, because you either have to trust that I'm trying to apply that policy to the best of our ability, or you don't. And if you don't, and you want to make it much more scripted out on what you want me to do with that policy, then if the special meeting is going to help do that, that's up to you all. But what I can tell you is, based on the feedback I've gotten, I'll do the best I can to police that policy.
And you feel as if the feedback has given you additional clarity?
It's giving me some clarity, yep, and then I'll have to sit down with our employee groups and I'll have to talk about that. And then if some questions from our employee groups come up, then I guess I can bring those forward.
Isn't it the principals that enforce that in their own schools?
Ultimately, policy is enforced by the superintendent. So while I will have my meetings with the principals and the employee groups, like I should when there's new policy, the buck stops with me. And so you hire me to enforce the policy. So while I'm gonna have those conversations, and I have them with my administrative team, with my employee groups, and try to do the best I can to say, here's what I think it says, based on the feedback I've gotten, then that's how we're gonna go about that, as we always do. I hope that makes sense.
Any additional discussion?
So do we need any further clarification? I guess I'm still wondering.
I guess what I'm hearing is that he received additional clarification, he's meeting with employee groups, and perhaps if questions come out of that, we might get additional clarification, is what I heard. Moving forward with a vote on to add discussion item 3A, policy 8805. Glenn,
Nay.
Cindy?
No.
Kristen?
Nay.
Chris?
No.
Greg?
No.
Michelle?
No.
And I'm a no, that will not be added, and if we need to bring it back, Chuck, we can bring it back. Moving forward, is there any discussion on the original motion for the approval of the agenda?
I do. I know that we had discussed the superintendent's evaluation and the changes made to it, and none of that made it on the meeting minutes. I would like that to be recorded in the meeting minutes, that we had the discussion when Mr. Costa confirmed on the timing of the update of the,
Are you referring to the minutes or the agenda?
well, I'm sorry, you're right, the agenda, the minutes,
Okay.
yes, got ahead of myself. But now we know what I'm gonna do with the minutes.
Okay. So moving forward on the, oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have something for the agenda, forgive me. I'd like to move in two action items, I'd like to move H up to B. And just shift everything down.
You'd like to move,
The superintendent contract extension discussion up to H, because I know people have to leave. And, you know, it's towards the end, so if we can do it earlier and just shift everything down. So it would become B.
I'll second.
any discussion? Okay, moving forward with a vote to,
One other item, Megan, I'd like to move 2A new hires up.
we vote on the first one and then you can make the second one.
Oh, sure.
Okay. The first motion on the table is to move two B, two H up to two B. Glenn,
Yes.
Cindy. Yes. Kristen. Yes. Chris.
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes, thank you.
and I'm a yes. Did you get that, Renee? Okay. Glenn, did you have another?
I had, yeah, one other item. I wanted to move the action item of 2A, the new hires up to 1E or 1F. Either way, either before or after the superintendent's report. But I'd also like to have that be a permanent change too. We keep on voting on that all the time, and I'd like to see that as a permanent move for new hires.
I had questioned that as well, and I think you probably saw some of the email traffic about that. But the way our policy is written and the way that our agendas are structured, I think prevents us from doing that unless we change the policy.
Well, then we need to change the policy.
So what do you want to, can you clarify your motion, Glenn, so that we can get through that?
Yes.
And then
The motion that we change the policy to change the agenda.
I don't know that you have the policy numbers, but perhaps we can talk about that. This is a
Sure. It shouldn't be that complicated, but yeah.
So for today, I'll move to move the new hires ahead of the superintendent's report, please.
So that is just to clarify, moving item 2A up to 1E.
Correct.
Oh, second. That's right.
All right, any discussion on that item? Glenn,
Yes.
Cindy? Yes. Krista? Yes. Chris,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. Moving item 2A to 1E. We'll move that up. Okay. Lots of movement, and it sounds like we have to have some discussion behind the scenes on policy moving forward, around our agenda. Nonetheless, can we go back to, original one C? Any discussion on the original motion that was made by Kristen and it was supported by Cindy? All right. Glenn,
Yes.
Cindy? Yes. Kristen? Yes. Chris?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Michelle?
yes,
And I'm a yes. Motion passes. Item 1D, approval of the minutes from June 26, 2023. I move that the minutes of the June 26, 2023 regular meeting be approved.
Support.
Okay, motion by Cindy, supported by Chris. Any discussion?
And this is where I come in. So, last meeting, we had discussion about the superintendent's evaluation changes, and it's not reflected in the meeting minutes. So I'd like to, have the secretary go back and add in the discussion or some discussion points, timing and the reasons from that meeting.
Are you just referring to where it says superintendent contract extension? There could be like more of this, like,
Well, we had talked about the
The
changes to the super evaluation,
it could
yes.
just fit in right there, probably. Is that where you're thinking? Like where it says superintendent's contract extension. She could just add a couple.
It's just
bullet
not in the
points.
meeting minutes.
Right, it could say,
Yeah, like what you and
Discuss.
I discussed, yes, and put it in the meeting minutes, yes.
Support. It's a motion, nice. Yeah.
Any further discussion on the addition of the minutes prior to approval?
Okay.
Sure.
Renee, I'm assuming you'll have to go back and watch the video to pick up those. The conversation.
Yes, please.
A little more involved in that. Minutes are not supposed to include any discussion, only votes, actions taken by the board. Unless requested, if you want me to include something in the minutes, you'll have to send me what you would like included.
Okay,
I'm not gonna transcribe the whole meeting into the minutes, that's not appropriate.
yeah, not that, it's just.
So
bullet
whatever
points.
you
But
want
okay, yeah,
to
I'll do
include,
that,
just-
sure. Absolutely.
Right. Motion by Michelle, supported by Greg. Glenn,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Chris,
yes,
Greg,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. And Michelle will get some bullet points to. Going back to the original motion that was made by Cindy and supported by Chris. Any further discussion? Glenn,
No.
Cindy? Yes. Kristen?
Yes.
Chris?
yes,
Greg?
Yes.
Michelle?
this is the approval of the minutes, right? This is- Okay, the addition of it,
With the addition.
okay, yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion passes. And we will look for those edited minutes for the next meeting. All right, given that we have moved some things around on the agenda and everything is totally out of order. Pardon me. We will move to item 1E, new hires.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, offers a probationary teaching contract to Andrea Holt for the 2023-24 school year at the step 2 BA salary track pending verification of credentials and Public Acts 99, 83, and 189 requirements if applicable.
Support. All right. Any discussion? Glenn,
Yay.
Cindy? Yes. Kristen?
Yes.
Chris?
yes,
Greg?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Nami, yes. All right.
Good evening, everyone. I am happy to introduce Andrea Holt. Andrea will be joining our first grade team at Lakes for the upcoming school year. She comes to us with some teaching experience in Ypsilanti, and she also comes to us with a minor in TESOL, which is teaching, make sure I get it right, teaching English to speakers of other languages. So in her interview, she talked about how she was able to integrate those strategies into her classroom. So she comes to us ready to roll to help us build our instructional capacity at Lakes, which I'm really excited about. I spoke to her mentor teacher on the phone as one of her references, and she said, I don't really want to tell you how wonderful she is because I don't want her to leave. So their loss is certainly our gain. So welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm excited to work at Heartland.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, offers a probationary teaching contract to Mackenzie Calvert, 2023-24 school year at step 1 BA salary track, pending verifications of credentials, Public Acts 99, 83, and 180 requirements, if applicable.
All right, motion by Chris, supported by Kristen. Any discussion? Glenn?
Yes.
Cindy? Yes. Kristen? Yes. Greg?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Oh, it's because you're not over here. Yes. All right.
Hi, everyone. Happy summer. Mackenzie is here. She's going to be teaching 6th grade ELA and social studies at Farms. She is a CMU grad, so fire up chips, and that's all I needed to hear. No, I'm kidding. There was way more to the interview than that. She's a Brighton grad, so we are glad to bring her to Heartland to wear some blue and gold instead of that orange color. So, but she left her interview and I've been so impressed with, I'm going to say kids because I can probably old enough to be your mother, that have come out of college and just have wowed us. She's enthusiastic. She's so excited to be a part of Farms, and we are excited to have you, Mackenzie. So congratulations.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so excited to start my teaching career here.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, offers a probationary teaching contract to Jennifer Marinelli for the 2023-24 school year at the step 5 MA salary track, pending verification of credentials and Public Acts 99, 83, and 189 requirements, if applicable.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Costa. Any discussion? Mr. Gogoleski?
Yay.
Michelle? Yes. Ms. Cole? Yeah. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Go.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right.
Good evening. I'm super excited to introduce you to Jennifer as our new business teacher at Heartland High School. As you know, we had the retirement of Mr. Jamie Riley, so we had some big shoes to fill, and we feel Jennifer is going to do an outstanding job filling those. She comes to us with some outstanding business world experience, but also the last 2 years at Walled Lake Western High School as a teacher there. Her principal, when I called him, was very upset with us for taking her. But she really wowed us and impressed us with the wide range of courses that she taught there. She went on in her interview of all the different courses she taught, but also her DECA experience, which is extremely successful at Heartland High School. We want to keep that going. And Jennifer's done a great job at Walled Lake Western building their program, as well as running their school store, which is something we love at Heartland High School. So we are super excited to have her. She's also a parent of students in our district and wants to be here very much. So we are excited to have Jennifer. Welcome.
Thank you for hiring me here, and I'm really excited to teach our kids and run DECA, and thank you, be part of you guys.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, offers a probationary teaching contract to Matthew Smith for the 2023-24 school year at the step 6 MA salary track pending verification of credentials and Public Acts 99, 83, and 189 requirements if applicable.
Support. Motion by Mrs. Coleman, support by Mr. Costa. Any discussion? All right. Mr. Goleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw? Yes. Mrs. Coleman? Yes. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Conley? Yes. And I'm a yes.
So Matt is going to be teaching sixth grade ELA and science. And after we interviewed him, I looked up I was replying to him on something and your email's Mr. Science, right? So I knew it was the right choice. So Matt was 6 years in Berkeley, 5 years in Chicago, and is now moving back, building a house in Brighton. And we hope maybe you can bring your kids to Heartland, but we'll let them go to Brighton. But I also called his references, and his principal in Berkeley said, if I wasn't retiring, I would fight you for him. So that means you're pretty good, Matt. So yeah, I'm very excited to have him. His team is super excited, and he's going to bring a lot of experience with science to our building, which we are very grateful for. So welcome.
I thank you. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and everybody has been so warm and welcoming, and I'm just excited to get started. So thank you.
All righty, moving forward. Agenda item 1F, superintendent's report.
All right, just a couple of things on the back to school items, just a reminder to the board. We will have back to school breakfast for all of our staff on the 14th of August. Breakfast is 7:30 to 8. The program will start at 8. And when it's finished, the staff will go there to their PD and whatever else they have going on that day. So that's our first day back for staff. August 16th, a reminder to the community, is our first day of school. So you want to come August 1st, start getting your children ready for bed and start getting into the role of redoing that structure for them so that we can work with them at school. Reminder also that we'll continue the early release Fridays for parents to make sure that you are scheduling for bus stop pickup and whatnot an hour early on Fridays. New kindergarten parents would need to know that as well, that early release Fridays is something that we do in our district. And then lastly, just to remind the community, school of choice, if you're interested in school of choice, that closes on August 1st. August 1st is the closing date for school of choice. So if you're interested, make sure that you visit our website and get started on that process. Other than that, I would ask Matt Marino to come up and give us a very quick bond update. What's happening?
All right, good evening, board. Sorry for the squeaky chairs. We did try to grease them, but they don't take grease, so we tried. Bond update really quick. This is on our website also, if someone wants to refer back to this. I'm not going to go through all these items on the first page, but the one particular item I will point out is technology. Scott Usher and his team are working diligently to replace the hundreds of handsets in this district. So that is underway. They've already converted this building and the high school, and they are slowly migrating the rest of the district through the phone upgrades. Over at Farms, we are making headway. We've drywalled everything. We are painting, and carpet installation should be happening this week. So we're working on turning the corner over there. As I was talking to Crystal, she's super excited about the look and the feel of it. I told Mickey not to go in the building yet, but there's still a lot of work. Oh. Or Creek, same thing. We're drywalling, painting. As you can tell from the picture, the ceilings are going in, the HVAC is going in. So again, we're turning the corner there. Same thing with carpet. That is going in this week. So the only really outstanding items are the last two bullets, which is the common lighting, which will be towards the end of July. And then the chiller, just I'm going to leave that on there as just reference so everyone understands. That will not be replaced this summer just due to long lead times for the chiller. HESSC, a very small slide. I need some pictures, but that work hasn't really started yet. That will be the auditorium lighting and curtain replacement, as well as the chiller similar to Oak Creek. The high school collaboration center is underway. Carpet again this week. Lighting has already been replaced. The middle picture, which is a little, you can't really tell, but the middle picture is the esports lab that will have computers all throughout there once we put it all back together in the next 2 weeks. And then the HVAC units, the 30 are starting to go up in all the areas that we're replacing those units at. So the mechanical equipment is going in, and then the controls upgrade has been ongoing. That will be online in the next 2 weeks so that the teachers have a little more functionality within their classrooms. Auditorium lighting and curtains will be replaced also at the end of July. High school paving and site. One of the pictures, we're starting the curbs over at the drop-off loop and pickup loop, as well as the teacher lot. We're starting the sidewalk that we've partnered with Heartland Township to create a walking path throughout our community. The middle picture is the brickwork and waterproofing on the pool. There's also a little waterproofing that's going to happen around the Eagle's Nest. That's been happening since, honestly, day one since we opened high school. And then we finished the band lot. It basically is the bus lot / band lot. I worked with Mr. Lively to basically paint what they needed to perform there, and it turned out really nice. The stadium, the crews have been working all over the weekend, kind of dodging raindrops to get the turf all installed. Right now, everything is cut in. What a lot of people don't realize is every white line on there or yellow is actually cut in. It doesn't come that way. They actually have to cut it and stitch it and glue it. So that has been completed. They're going to work over the next few days to insert the rubber and the sand and actually pin it into the anchor. The track surface will be installed starting Friday, and then the scoreboard is scheduled to show up on Monday. So we'll get that hung and getting ready to go. And that is it. Any questions? Cool. All right. No problem.
Thank you, Matt. So into the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Moving on, item 1F, call for the public. This is just a reminder that speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and no participant may speak more than once. What will happen is I'm going to set a timer when you have 30 seconds left. I'm just going to hold up this yellow envelope. And then you will know you have 30 seconds left, and then I will stop you at 3 minutes. Okay. Yeah. And first up is Jeff Scott.
Good evening, everyone. And first of all, I want to just take a moment to congratulate trustee, well, now President Glaybach, on taking the helm of the board. It's a selfless and thankless job, and your community thanks you for stepping up. I think you've been integral in helping push forward 2 important issues to me, which are student safety and district transparency. It's unfortunate that your predecessor, Mr. Costa, and Superintendent Hughes don't put as much value on transparency as you do and many of the other members of the board. I was pretty flabbergasted when I heard some of the trustees bring up the fact that their superintendent evaluation scores were not counted because Mr. Costa manipulated the scoring matrix. This didn't sound legal to me, so I looked it up, I researched it, and sure enough, it's not legal. I pointed this out to the board and to Mr. Hughes, how there are several ways in which the district is violating Michigan law when it comes to superintendent evaluations. I know since then, Mr. Hughes has tried to hobble together some justification of the wrongdoing, but it doesn't change the facts. I want to focus on the intent of the wrongdoing and how it hurts the taxpayers, the parents, and most of all, the students of this district. First of all, the discussion of the superintendent evaluation was brought up as it relates to the superintendent's contract extension. As apparently Mr. Costa wants to increase Mr. Hughes' 4-year contract to 5 years, which really doesn't make sense because it has no benefit to this community, just to inflate Mr. Hughes' golden parachute. During that discussion, Mr. Costa admitted he had manipulated the evaluations to drop 3 scores. Big surprise, can we guess which 3? This manipulation is against the law, and I will fight until the end to have you held accountable for the violation. It's a violation against everything that our system represents. His manipulation prevents 3 duly elected trustees from carrying out their legal obligation to evaluate the superintendent. This is clear corrupt conduct in office. President Glaybach, I'm sure the next score that's been dropped would have been yours if it would have fulfilled his mission. In my opinion, if he uses this illegal manipulation of the evaluation methodology to extend Mr. Hughes' contract and add over $200,000 in unnecessary liabilities to the district, he is committing fraud against the taxpayers of this community. Is this the message we send to students? You can break the law. You can move the ethical boundaries wherever you want. That seems pretty dangerous. I hope this board does the right thing, disregard the illegal evaluation performed earlier this year, replaces it with a state-approved superintendent evaluation, maybe the one supplied by the Michigan Association of School Boards. An evaluation you spend 9,000 taxpayer dollars to have access to every year. So we spend $9,000 with the Michigan Association of School Boards to have access to their evaluations, but we hobble one together on the weekend that's gonna keep 3 people on this board from voting.
Mr. Scott, can I ask you to wrap it up?
You can. Ms. Glaybach, I wish you the best, but I can guarantee you right now, my pursuit of justice against your predecessor will not end here tonight. Thank you all.
Moving on to Barbara Tonkovich.
Thank you once again for letting me speak. All right, first off, I ordered and received, do we know who Benjamin Rush is? One of our founding fathers. This is his book in regards to a defense of the Bible as a school book. And this was up until 1947-48 period. Okay. Christianity this is written in 1965, during the time when prayer and God's word was taken out of schools. Christianity is not a religion in the sense that the hundreds of religions throughout the world are. There are 3 reasons for this. First, every religion is built around the teaching or example of some person who is dead or soon will be. Muhammad is buried in Medina, Buddha's bones lie in the soil of India, and so on. But Jesus Christ is alive. No grave contains his body. He rose from the dead and ascended to heaven. Secondly, every religion can flourish without its founder. You have Mohammedanism or Muslims without Muhammad, Christian Science without Mary Baker Eddy, Buddhism without Buddha, but not so with Jesus Christ. There is no such thing as Christianity without a living Christ. Thirdly, every religion in the world is some form of doing something for God, some attempt to placate or appease him. But Christianity is God doing something for us. It is religion in reverse. There is nothing that we can do sufficient to earn salvation. Jesus Christ has purchased salvation for us through his death on the cross and offers it freely as a gift to those who will trust him. Christianity is not a religion, it is life. It's a personal relationship. Christianity is not just a set of religious ideas. It is a person, the Lord Jesus Christ, who died for us and who lives forevermore to keep us and to live his life through us, and will be coming back as King of Kings and Lord of Lords, probably within 10 years. And my last comment is, I'm very disappointed with parents that have not come to these school board meetings. And parents and teachers alike will be held accountable to what they're doing to these children. Thank you.
Samantha Boyd. I'm gonna pass. Great, items are called to the public. Moving on to action, I'm sorry, to item 1H, board reports and requests. I'm going to start with Mr. Bobolewski.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to congratulate some of the honor students that graduated and had their picture recently posted on social media. We have 10 really great students and got some big futures ahead of them. But as far as some of the other items that I want to talk about, I think a lot of those things are going to be covered in these subjects coming up on the agenda. So with that, I pass my time along.
Shaw. Thank you. I just want to remind the community that the Chamber of Commerce is putting on a art walk in September. So we encourage students, of course, to submit their art projects. We're trying to make it a community event that we can hopefully replicate every year. So go to heartlandliving.com to get more information. And Mrs. Cheney, this is your reminder to set your alarm starting August 1st. So you can get up for school. Thank you. July 31st. July 30th. Great, thank you, Mrs. Shaw. Mrs. Clement?
I don't have anything specific. I just hope that everyone is enjoying some downtime over the summer, as much as you can get. I know some people like Matt are probably very busy in the summer, but I hope everyone's enjoying downtime. And I don't know about anybody else's kids, but mine are really sad that the countdown is on. They realize that the number is on the calendar and they are not happy, so, but they're making the most of it.
Thank you, Mrs. Clement. Mr. Costa?
I don't have much other than I was just gonna say our next meeting is after the school year starts, so I wish our students and our staff a good start to the new year. I know nobody looks forward to it, but it is exciting. It's always exciting to see what happens, so I look forward to that. I'm all set.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Mr. Keller?
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Just a couple topics today. One, just want to echo the sentiments from Mr. Bobolewski. Congratulate the Heartland High School top 10 academic students. And collectively, we're all very proud of you and wish you all great success in your future endeavors. I did also want to just kind of read their names as well, because I know we brought up the basketball team, or sorry, the softball team last time, and we didn't get a chance to do that with our top 10 students. So I'll at least take a minute to at least recognize them. So Regan Ayler, Quinn Campbell, Anthony Chow, apologize if I'm getting any of these names wrong, Eric Frisco, Gavin Portia, Chase Gillette, Ethan Justice, Sam Kronberg, excuse me, Kara Markle, and Benjamin Smith. So again, congratulations on your also to Megan, congratulations on being elected president, and Mr. Costa for being treasurer. Look forward to working with you guys in your new capacities. And I guess there's one other thing I did want to just kind of put out there for the board's consideration, is we have a new session. I don't know if this is a session or not, but for the next year. So one of the things that I think would like to try to do is improve or grow the relationship between the board and the administration team. And one suggestion that I had to that end was to have kind of one board member pair up with one school and kind of be an advocate for that particular school, just have coffee, sit down, just kind of casual conversation. What's going right? Where do you need support? What resources do you need? Again, we don't get a chance to speak with you a lot, especially outside of the boardroom. And so this is just something I think as a board admin team, we could kind of work on to kind of foster a good relationship. So that concludes my board report.
Yeah, before I go to what I want to say, I think it's a great idea, Greg. It's really a great idea. I know we talked about this. And when you suggested it, and at the time it clicks because it does make sense that we board members who can't get here during the day, like some of the other board members, that we afforded the opportunity to get to know the principals and their wants and, you know, things, and understanding how the schools are run better. So I think that would benefit everybody, including the students, which is why we're here. I also want to congratulate everyone for their new roles. Finally, everybody that is working so hard over the summer to get prepared for the first day of school. Looks like you got a lot on your plates, and it looks like you're doing very well. So thanks for the professionalism and dedication to the district. Thank you.
All right, moving on to my board report. All right, first off, I hope everyone's having a great summer. I can't believe that school is 4 weeks away. We like structure in my house, so we are looking forward to going back to school. Regardless if my kiddos are looking forward to it, mom and dad certainly are. I would like to congratulate, obviously, Mrs. Gregory, Mr. Fitzgerald, and Mrs. Frazier, all who have taken on new roles within the district. And so this year will be super exciting for you guys, and we're here to support you, and we're here to help in any way that we can. So congrats, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in these new roles. As I had said a little bit ago, I really think that we have an opportunity to really capitalize on the strengths on the board. I'm going to work very hard behind the scenes to understand what that looks like from a committee structure standpoint, and just from a connections and relationship standpoint and a project standpoint. There's several people that have posed ideas, or more recently had some thought about different programs that we could bring to students and so on and so forth. So looking forward to working with Mr. Hughes and capitalizing on those strengths. I think that's the wonderful thing about having a very diverse board, is that we're all very different. None of us, I don't even think, work in the same industry much. But I think that I think we need to start doing that, and we need to start building those bridges and building those relationships. And so that's certainly something that I will focus on and focus on with my fellow board members, all of them. Always reach out to me. My email has not changed. Most of you probably have my cell phone. Feel free to reach out on there. Always down for a cup of coffee. I think I'm probably now a regular at Thread Creek, but that's a good cause. Other than that, I have no further comments, and we will move on to the agenda. Moving on to action item 2A, superintendent contract extension. I move that the Board of Education approves the superintendent contract extension as presented. Motion by Mrs. Shaw, support by Mrs. Coleman. Discussion.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, there's a awful lot of discussion about this. There were a lot of issues that were brought up and well documented by Mr. Scott. And in order to get some clarification on these issues regarding the situation with the evaluation being changed, contract extension, the voting of the contract in a timely manner and such. I attempted to get information through the proper channels. Chris was on vacation. Turns out Kristen was also on a trip for work, was away. And so I called Froome directly. And I will say this, the next bill that we get from Froome, if they charge us for the time that they spent talking to me on the phone, don't pay it. I'm going to let you know that right now. They were of no help. I could not talk to them. Once again, I was rejected. Nobody made the effort to contact Froome to help me with my questions. So I can't in any way make a vote on something that has such looming questions out there, such legalities. I am not going to vote in any way, shape, or form until we get legal answers. The other thing too, this kind of is a lovely little segue into the fact that I'm looking at why I could not get any information from Froome. And I'm looking at our bylaws. 0172, and it's a very quick little bylaw. The Board of Education may employ an attorney to represent the school district or board in actions brought for or against the district and to render other legal services for the welfare of the school district. Now, I was told that there is protocol for contacting our legal team, and following that protocol for various reasons, they would not talk to me, even though the people that could contact them were not available. I don't know what kind of protocol I've been explained in the past, whether it's an actual written agreement, if it's some kind of document, some kind of policy that I haven't seen before. But I'm very, very curious as to why the legal team that we employ, that the board makes decisions on, cannot talk to them. I really would like to know that first. And I would also like these legal questions cleared up before we make a vote on this contract extension, especially in terms of the legality of the evaluations and the legality of the contract extension itself.
Thank you, Mr. Gogolewski. Any further discussion?
Yeah, so I'd like to comment too. One of the concerns I have, and this is just more of a housekeeping thing for me personally, but the board packet that was posted to the public, I have a concern that we did not include that in the documents that were posted. I think we voted on a policy this past year that talked about what we do and do not put in the board packet. And so I think that policy was the agenda policy. And so again, I think for that reason, we need to include it. The language specifically says the district shall publish all board packet materials except those materials prohibited by law or protected by confidentiality. So again, in order for us to maintain compliance with our own policies, I think we need to go back and make sure that that gets added into the board packet. So I guess that's my housekeeping note on that particular item. With respect to the contract itself, in line with what Mr. Gogolewski was mentioning, and maybe this is one of his questions for the law firm, but I have concerns over the ability for us to actually even execute an extension based on the wording in the contract, which says that the board may extend or renew either by option of the board or operation of law as follows. It states the board may take action annually prior to March 30th to extend this contract for an additional year. And, based on the calendar, I think we've we're about 3 months past that, 3, 4 months beyond that window. So I guess I would question whether or not if there was an extension to the contract, that it would even be valid for Mr. Hughes. So again, I think Mr. Gogolewski's clarification to the legal team would be very well warranted for all on that one. You know, and we had someone speak on this earlier. One of the concerns I had was there is a clause in the contract with respect to the salary increase being based on the superintendent receiving an evaluation of either highly effective or effective. And with the new majority scale methodology, I don't think that gave it the same weight from each individual board member as has been the protocol in the previous years. So we did change the format a little bit this year, which was in line with the current administrators, and I do support having a common evaluation form. But where I have some issues is the fact that, you know, it only takes majority scoring into consideration. So just to make a silly example, but if 4 people give highly effective and 3 people give ineffective, it doesn't take a weighted average of those scores, and instead it would just say highly effective. And I know if 3 of my 7 customers said I was ineffective, I just lost 3 customers, and I might be fooling myself and thinking that I'm highly effective, but I just don't understand the logic behind why we would, unannounced to the board, make a change such as that completely changes the evaluation rubric that's been used for previous years. So, I mean, those are some of the big concerns that I have with this contract. And I think, you know, we voted on a 3-year contract for the administration not too long ago, and I don't personally see why we would offer to give someone a 5-year contract when we're not giving our administration even that same luxury. And, you know, frankly, we have an existing contract today that was signed in 2022 that extends through 2027. So what we're asking to do is make this a 2028 contract. And I think that I don't know who that necessarily benefits, or how does that help benefit the kids to hang an additional liability on the district for the taxpayers and all the other constituents in this community. And so for those reasons, I can't vote in favor of this.
Additional discussion?
Yeah, I do as well. So, in looking at all of the details that Mr. Scott provided to us and the lack of support that we got from legal, and there's been no legal input at all. And with that said, I don't see why we would vote on anything that if there's legal questions, we're a board that's supposed to, employ the superintendent. This is an extension of contract, so it's gonna give them another 5 years. And that's a big contract when there's this looming issue out there that I wanna know about. I don't feel like as a board member, I can properly do my job when I don't have all of the details. So I think that we shouldn't be voting on this right now, and it doesn't do anything because he still has a contract until 2027, am I correct? Correct. So the vote is just extending it another year so that, he's got another 5 years. I don't agree with anybody having a 5-year contract, and I'm suspect at the timing of providing a 5-year contract, because I am aware that traditionally they get 3-year contracts. For some reason, before we started, I think the writing was on the wall, the superintendent's evaluation changed, the scoring changed, and his contract changed to a 5-year. And that's very suspect on the timing. So I don't appreciate that as a board member, being asked to extend a contract that I don't agree with in the first place, and especially one that has legal ramifications. I want to understand if this was done legally or not before I even consider voting on something like this.
Fully agree. And just the methodology of what was used, I have never seen that in all of my working days. to have an evaluation, whether it's for customer service, whether it's for employees. I almost found it insulting. I really did. But there's far more important things here at play that go well beyond simple insults. It's a question of legality. And I don't know how any of us, without knowing the legalities involved, how we can vote on this. It just can't be done right now.
So I walked through each component of this with Mr. Hughes today. And I think that we need to do some work to clean it up, to actually make what's happening in reality. There's several things in this contract that today are not correct. So to extend an incorrect contract doesn't make much sense. So Mr. Hughes and I can work to understand within the confines what we're actually executing on and what we're not, because the whole contract is currently not being executed. Which I think is important for the discussion and important for any movement that we do moving forward. So perhaps the board would like to consider postponing this until we, obtain appropriate legal guidance and until we obtain actually what's being executed in the contract versus what's not. So that we can actually get a correct contract versus having something that's somewhat half followed, sometimes followed, not followed.
So, yeah, I'm willing to make a motion to postpone this vote. Someone wants. Okay. So I make a motion to postpone item 2B, superintendent contract extension. Two A.
Motion by Mr. Costa, supported by Mrs. Coleman. Any discussion on the motion that Mr. Costa just put forward? Hearing none.
So, well, sorry, I do have a question. So with that said, that's fine that we're rewriting some of this, some of the verbiage doesn't match what's, actually being done, like Megan said. But I think that I want commitment that we're gonna get legal input from two sources, not just Drew, because Drew, didn't want to talk to Glenn. And sometimes I feel like they're biased as well. And the same way we did the FERPA investigation with Janine Ogleski, I think that we need multiple sources to provide us input on this so that I feel confident in whatever the outcome may be. And if they say nothing would be legal, then great, I'll accept that. But I won't accept somebody just saying that, oh, it's fine, let's move on, because it doesn't speak integrity for the board.
Right, and I could have saved $30,000 by saying, yeah, my wife didn't commit any FERPA violations, but I think we need to look into this.
Any additional?
I just have the one real quick. So I was unaware that Mr. Ogleski was attempting to contact her, and because I have to ask, did you reach out to the Superintendent Hughes and
I reached out to Kristen, who was also on vacation,
did she?
and I never received
It was muted, but everything else is on.
Okay. Okay. Moving on from the motion that was put forward by Mr. Costa and supported by Mrs. Coleman to postpone this action item. Mr. Bogoleski,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mrs. Bondiel,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, motion passes.
I'd like to bring up one item that is related to this. If I could. We have in the policy manual, in policy 1240, we have evaluation of the superintendent. And there are some dates in this policy, which it's never really good to have dates unless you're talking about an end to a policy overall. But we have very specific dates and figures in a policy, and that's going to cause some confusion too. If you take a look at 1240 item C, it talks about the evaluation of the superintendent's job performance as highly effective, and then it also gets into percentages of growth and such. And since we are or are not measuring those, I think we need to take that out of this policy because it's a timely item that is expired. So.
Mr. Bogoleski, we will add that on as a discussion item for the next board meeting so that everyone can ensure that they come prepared. Moving on to item 2, the payment of invoices.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, offers a probation, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Chief Financial Officer, approves the financial report as of June 30th, 2023, and the payment of invoices totaling $3,011,449.68, and payroll obligations totaling $3,782,899.33.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, support by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? Mr. Bogoleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Bondiel?
Yes.
I'm a yes, motion passes. Item 2C, school bond loan fund application. I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Chief Financial Officer, approves the school loan revolving fund annual application as presented.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Shaw, support by Mr. Costa. Any discussion? I would like just for the public to give Rachel an opportunity to just very briefly describe what this is. She described it so nicely to me, but I think it's important for the rest of the team to know.
Yeah, so the school bond loan fund is a program that's been around since the late 50s, early 60s, and it's really does two things. It's a mechanism for school districts to use the state's credit rating when they issue debt, which typically is higher than an individual district, that ultimately results in lower interest costs. And more importantly, what it does is it allows districts to borrow from the state to make their debt payments. The reason why a district would need to do that is it's more geared towards districts that are growing and then don't have the tax base to build the infrastructure that they need to support their needs. So we've been a part of the program for 52 years, I believe. Part of that agreement, it comes with a date that you're required to repay this by. Currently, that date is 2035. Right now, based on our projected tax base and growth, we should have it paid off by 2029 without any further borrowing. Anytime you have any further borrowing or refunding, that kind of alters that a bit, but that's what we're looking at right now.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Bogoleski?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Juanio?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, motion passes. Item 2D, membership in MHSAA.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the district's membership in the Michigan High School Athletic Association for the 2023-2024 school year.
Motion by Mr. Costa, support by Mrs. Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Gillespie,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mrs. Juanio.
Yes.
I'm a yes, motion passes. Item 2E, internal board policy for approval. Number 0164.1, meeting dates.
Is that a correction, Renee? Is that the right one, or did we find that it was supposed to be something different?
The date.
No, the policy number.
Oh, it is, no, it's 1-5. We found
164 that one.
Which help?
And all it says is every 7 meeting days. That's what.
What's the policy number?
0164.
Is that
That one.
015.
Or what?
May want to double check that.
015.
0154.
Motions.
And 0154, I'm sorry, Greg. It says motions. The board shall at the organizational meeting designate those persons authorized to sign checks, contracts, agreements, and purchase orders, designate a date, place, and time for regular meetings, which shall be held at least once a month. So I think it's supposed to be this one. 0154.
I believe the actual meeting policy was 0164, that one.
That one just says we had at least 1 month. The 015 more so than the amount of the organization.
Is there my one? That was wrong. We fixed it by saying 0154 and, right, it needs to be given. So why don't we just do and 0154?
And 0164?
0154 and 0164.1.
Okay.
Did you read the last one? Okay, all right, so I will reread it with that change. I move that the Board of Education, in accordance with board policy 0154 and 0164, approves the proposed meeting dates for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, support by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion?
There was a second, I think Ms. Coleman sent out an email with some revised dates.
Yeah,
So I guess if you'd like to.
thank you. We received an email, and actually I had been made aware of this prior to that email. Our meetings, if they stand on the second Monday, which is where we've had them historically, tend to conflict with the county commissioners meetings. And there's a large number of people who attend our meetings who would also like to attend those meetings. So since there were already 4 meetings in the proposed list that Renee had provided that were on the 3rd Monday, I wanted to propose moving additional meetings to the 3rd Monday to reduce the number of conflicts. Now there's 2 months, it's October and May, where it wouldn't work due to other things on the calendar to be able to move those meetings to the 3rd Monday. So I propose those 2 stay on the 2nd Monday, but everything else could move to the 3rd Monday. And I have specific dates that we can share. Well, I put the ones in the email that I was proposing to change.
I personally don't have a problem with moving it to the 3rd Monday. If that allows the community to, if they want to attend a committee or county meeting, I mean, I don't see a problem with doing that.
I would just want to make one request that if we could continue the November 13th meeting as scheduled or initially discussed. I know the week of November 20th is a short week and a lot of people are on vacation. So I would propose that we would leave November's meeting schedule that you proposed, Kristen, at November 13th.
So October, November and June. Will be the second.
Yeah, so it looks like we'd be changing. Yeah. So the meetings that would be moved would be December, January, February, March, and April. Those would all move forward 1 week.
Can you double check that with the calendar, just make sure it's not a big spring break, nothing like that.
Yeah, I double checked and I ran it by Renee and Chuck earlier today, so those dates should be good.
So do we want to modify that? Or add those dates in prior to, moving forward with the vote?
Or can we move forward with the vote knowing that we're making those changes? As we've done?
Maybe we just read the actual dates, so it's, I guess, officially recorded. Maybe if you just read the whole calendar
Yeah.
with the
I'm
new
happy with that.
dates.
Please.
Okay. So the regular meetings that we're proposing, then the dates would be Monday, July 17th, Monday, August 21st, September 18th, October 9th, November 13th, December 18th, January 22nd, February 19th, March 18th, April 22nd, May 13th, and June 17th.
Any additional discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to ask Mrs. Coleman. I didn't see many or get many emails regarding this conflict. You mentioned there were many people upset about it because I never received other than one email. I'm just curious.
I didn't mention anything about anybody being upset about it. I said we heard from a community member and that I had heard of this conflict before.
Oh, a community member. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Probably the same one that emailed us all. So,
Yeah, that's what I said.
yeah.
Any additional discussion?
Just to confirm what. You read the dates that are in the packet, but is it the dates that were changed to?
I read the new date. I read the proposed dates. So like for December, I said December 18th,
Can you repeat the November one? What did you read off?
the 13th. I read the 13th, yeah.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Golovkin,
Yay.
Mrs. Shaw. Yes. Mrs. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mrs. Blondell.
Yes.
I'm a yes, that motion passes with the modified dates. Moving on to item 2F, notes and loans. I move that any two officers of the Board of Education may sign notes or loans approved by the Board of Education at an official meeting.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Shaw, support by Mr. Costa. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple of comments. So on this particular item, notes and loans. Notice there's no actual specific policy tied to notes and loans. It's actually kind of a subset, if you will, of our 0154 motions policy. And I guess I would like to put out for the board's consideration that we would actually make a specific policy or add it to a current policy that just formally would document the language of this motion, because right now it would just kind of be buried in meeting notes from a school board meeting in July. So I don't think it's necessarily the first place someone's going to go to if they have questions about signatory policy. So I guess I would propose that we, at a future meeting, perhaps take on an action to figure out the best home, or maybe the admin team can make a recommendation as far as where they think it should belong. But again, just in terms of trying to clean it up, I think I'd like the board to consider that.
You know, and get rid of the tribal knowledge that make it a little bit more official. So
Any additional discussion? I think that makes sense, and we will move forward with item 2F, but then bring that, so we can actually see it in verbiage and in writing, at a future meeting. Mr. Gogolewski,
yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman. Yes. Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mrs. Buendio. Yes. I'm a yes, that motion passes. Item 2G, authorization for posting notices.
I move that the superintendent or his designee will designate an appropriate available person at each location to post notices of public meetings.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, support by Mr. Costa.
Same comment for the previous, so would like to see us actually make a policy or add it to one that this would apply. But other than that, I don't have any concerns with the motion.
I have a real quick question. I don't know where it's at. I don't know where it's located, but I just recall saying that or seeing or hearing about a policy that does kind of enforce this already. I could be wrong. I just don't know, but just to clear it up, it would be good to cement it, so to speak. So
Absolutely. Makes sense. I like that. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Gogolewski,
yes.
Mrs. Shaw. Yes. Mrs. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mrs. Buendio.
Yes.
And a yes, that motion passes. Moving on to item 3A, informational items. Future or 3A. 3A is future meetings. Our next meeting is August 21st. Right here in the boardroom at 6:30. Again, we start school on the 16th, so don't get that confused. Please send your children to school on the 16th. And we will see you here on the 21st. Or moving on to item 3B, any informational items you would like to share? There's a Partners for Progress coming up, I think, on the 23rd, August 23rd. So right after our next board meeting, for those of you that would like to attend, is it a breakfast?
It's breakfast and I'll make sure that I get that back out to you. I have it on my calendar tonight, so I'll make sure you have that invite again.
Thank you. Nothing else, then we are adjourned at 8:04.
Okay, we want to know if you coordinate your outfits today.
Just happened.